He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan. He can't stand up to the pressure. The higher the expectations, the worse he performs. But please don't kill the messenger, because all I ever do, and have tried to do from the start with LeBron James, is just watch closely and tell the truth about what I see. And truth is, from the start, I saw Batman talent, supreme talent, the biggest talent I've ever seen in the NBA. But the intangibles are much closer to Robin. He's Robin more than he's Batman. He's Pippen more than he's Jordan.
Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. So LeBron James, all of his career, he's been getting beat by plumbers, unathletic white guys, and international players. Yes, folks, you heard that right. I'm not going to apologize. What I'm going to clarify is what I'm talking about. And me having to explain myself on this morning's video when I said that these teams internationally didn't have athletic players and that we should be smashing them, right? And we should be whooping them, and there's no excuses, right? So let's clear this up. First of all, this is not my lingo. This is not my terms. This stuff originates from LeBron's so many failures in his career, right? So these are the things that they would say about basketball competition in Michael Jordan's era, in other different era. Slow, unathletic white guys and plumbers, right? We've never heard this ever. We've never heard this type of disrespect. It's just wow. You were just wowed away. And it really made it okay because white guys start saying this. Do you know how stupid you sound? The JJ Reddicks, um the Nick Wrights. Because I think if a black guy would have said that, it would have been no, it would not have worked out, right? They would have been saying all this stuff and they should say sorry. But since white people said it, it was okay. So it continued to be used. Okay. And this was all because of LeBron's lifetime failures in his career, right? And most of the times when the LeBron media tells you something about Jordan or something against Jordan, is usually what? They're talking about LeBron. They're talking about LeBron. They just want to see how stupid and idiotic his fans really are. So a lot of times, and a lot of this stuff that they say is just to get your mind off of LeBron's failures, right? So they'll come out with different stuff every year, just all kind of crazy, outlandish stuff. So you won't say nothing about, not only his entire career, but the beginning of his career. They want you to forget that ever happened because it's the biggest joke in sports history for a guy that's supposed to be a up there with the GOATs of all time in sports, period. All sports, right? So I'm going to explain to you in a minute, but let's look at this image right here. This is LeBron in his first Olympics, the king coming into the league. We'll talk about that in a minute. Scores 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0% field goal percentage, and 2 fouls. But this plumber from Lithuania, who's 6'4", 28 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists on 64% shooting, right? And what's so interesting about this is that this guy came into the league calling himself the king, right? Shot 41% for the season, was a minus 144, 73% from the free throw line, a brick city from 3, whatever. And then he goes over here to these Olympics and he gets schooled by plumbers. Remember, this ain't when they caught up to us. Are you saying this is when they Are you saying this is when they caught up to you? That's funny. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But yeah, they won't even let this guy in the game. This is how bad this guy was after playing a full NBA season. So anyways, let's talk about this. The fact that when I say non-athletic, I'm saying that just to piss off the LeBron fans when we're talking about people who aren't, black athletes. This is what they say. In my eyes, if you're less athletic, you have to be more fundamentally sound and more skilled to get by, right? Take Larry Bird, for example. He's playing in an era where guys were more athletic in the 80s. But guess what? Because he wasn't as athletic, he had to have a higher IQ, and his fundamentals and his skills had to be sharp as a razor blade, which made a lot of these athletic guys who were just, really good athletic, but they weren't fundamentally sound or skilled like Larry Bird. Yes, they were both, right? But they weren't as fundamentally sound or sharp as Larry Bird. And he took he took advantage of this really fast, right? So let's look at this image right here, and we'll keep talking about that as we go. Bro, who the hell are these guys? So the LeBron class, now they have no excuse, right? They're going to the '07 FIBA to get the revenge and show the world they weren't just young Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James. Wade is coming off a Finals MVP, a championship. LeBron is coming off like 30 points per game. Chris Paul is new in the league, and you got Melo, this great shooting threat, and Chris Bosh, he's in his prime with these guys. Well, guys, you can't make this up. They not only don't get gold, but they get spanked in the silver medal round by these guys right here. these non-athletic plumbers who none of them was in the NBA at the time. Is this when the world caught up to you? So again, if you're not as athletic, what happens now? You have to be more fundamentally sound, and your skills have to be sharp as a razor blade. Your skills. Athleticism is not a plus in sports unless you're fundamentally sound first, unless your skills are sharpened first. Does anybody remember that Boston team in the 80s? They basically pissed all over the East for a decade, right? Wasn't until like 88, right? They pissed on the East for a decade. Would you call that team crazy athletic? Bill Walton, Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Danny Ainge was on there, Kite was on there. Even I would even call Robert Parrish a crazy athletic guy, or what's it? Dennis Johnson. These are not high flyers. These guys are guys who had high IQs for the game, were fundamentally sound, and were really skilled. And not just on offense, on defense too. Because I don't care how good you want to be on offense. If you don't play no defense, you're going to lose every time. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. So when you look at this, and we go back to the '04 Olympics, and you look at Manu Ginobili and his Argentinian plumbers, I can call them plumbers. Oh man, they Spanish, they ain't white. I don't see one melanated person on that team. I don't see no brothers on that team. They're international plumbers to me. But guess what? These guys' skills were sharp as a damn blade. And their fundamentals were sound. And they went out and executed on top of these guys. This is a chance to curb stomp the USA, right? Look who they're sending. A wannabe king. Some dudes just coming up out of college. And the rest of these guys who aren't really fundamentally sound. I remember one was Tim Duncan, fine. But the rest of these guys, AI was not fundamentally sound at that time. Great score. Starberry wasn't fundamentally sound at that time. Great score. So we look at this. And we know Tim Duncan is not a plumber. We know the country that he comes from is a territory of the USA. But this would just be like a continuous thing with LeBron James getting beat by international players who aren't from the mainland or just international players, period. You see Dirk in this image right here. Another unathletic white plumber, right? This is what the LeBron era guys would call these type of guys, right? If they're in Michael Jordan's era, if they're in Larry Bird's era, if they're in Wilt Chamberlain's era, this is what these guys are called. We can't change the name now. We would never disrespect people because of the color of their skin in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s. We would never do this. And I didn't see this happening in the 2000s, right? This did not happen until LeBron basically lost his sixth championship and Nick Wright starts saying these things, right? So we look at this guy right here, right? The guy who won the NBA dunk contest the last 2 years. Another unathletic white plumber. He was the second white unathletic plumber to win the dunk contest. Right? I think Barry won it, when was that? 97? Right. Now this guy wins it 2 times in LeBron's era. And LeBron hasn't won a dunk contest or partooken in a dunk contest one time. Folks, in this plumber smoked NBA players this year, right? So how do you live this down? How do you live this down that you never even partaken in a slam dunk contest? In this same plumber won back-to-back dunk contest in your era. And these are supposed to not only be the most athletic guys of all time in this era, but LeBron is supposed to be one of these amazing athletes, right? Can't even give his fans a dunk contest. But like I was saying, with the Manu Ginobili thing and the Argentinians, no, those guys aren't high flyers. They're not crazy athletic. So they already knew their skills have to be sharp as a blade. They have to work as a team. They have to be fundamentally sound. And that's why they beat the United States. This is, when you look at the '04 Olympic team, there's no way they lose. There's no way that any team at that time should be even close to them. They should at least be blowing teams out by 20 points, right? At least. Because the same thing back then, it was even worse back then, right? I don't even know how many times you had a superstar on these international teams back then, right? '04, '07. I don't know about too many superstars. Can you name them? Role players? Yes. And they might have had one or two role players on the team, but superstars? You guys give me some names. I just can't consider Pau Gasol a superstar. Please don't bring that to me. Don't do that. Internationally, right? From '04 to 2007. So there's really no excuse what you guys are saying. When that 2004 and 2007 FIBA team lost. There's no excuses. Because we know what happened. We had great athletes on our team for the United States, but they weren't fundamentally sound. And you got cooked. You got cooked. You got cooked. These plumbers cooked you. So we look at this, right? And we know Joker swept LeBron James last year, right? 4-0 with no All-Star teammate, no Hall of Fame teammate, no top 75 teammate. And LeBron has, to me, especially if he stayed healthy, one of the great two-way players of all time. I wouldn't say if he played in the 90s he would. No, there's no way. Anthony Davis. But in this era, since he's entered the NBA, he's a top 75 player. He's a Hall of Fame player. He's an all-star player. What are we talking about? And then LeBron is the number one player of all time, right? How's he doing this at 21 and 22 and 23 years in, right? Then Joker turns around with the same resume and beats LeBron again in a gentleman's sweep with no all-star teammate, no Hall of Fame teammate, and no top 75 teammate, while you have two on one team. This is what I'm talking about. And these guys want to talk about Michael Jordan at 38, 39, 39, 40. Could you imagine this happening to Michael Jordan? Having an all-star teammate, a top 75 teammate, a Hall of Fame teammate, and a great two-way player teammate. And he's getting swept by a plumber who has neither on his team, and then gets gentleman swept by a plumber the next year who has none of this on his team. This is the nonsense they talk about, and this is why this guy loses so much, because all his fans care about is stats. The winners care about winning. Stats will come with winning. Great teammates will arise and get good and get great as you show them that you want to win, you want to be great, you're being accountable, you're going to hold them accountable, and you want to be one of the best of all time. But that's not LeBron James. He has to have the best at all time. And then guess what? When it's not the best no more, pew, he's out of there. He's going looking for the best at that time. And all the best at that time is being held accountable for the media saying he's the best. So whenever that best falls off the map, he's got to go get more. When did Joker do that? I don't remember Joker doing that. He came in as a nobody. Nothing, and built up his career, his game, his fame, everything. As much as you guys think, oh man, you beating up on Joker and all. Look, the man couldn't play in the 90s. I'm just saying. We're in different eras. And maybe Alonzo Mourning couldn't play in this damn era. Okay? Or Dikembe Mutombo. But I'm just telling you, he couldn't play in that era. All the great men were two-way players. And you're just battling too much. It's a lot of battling, chest to chest, back to back, all this grinding all the time. He couldn't make it. But he's great in his era. That's why I say I don't like to compare eras. I like to see who was great in that era, pull them out, and be like, well, let me see what you did in your era compared to my era. Not say, oh man, your era was weak. That's why you did this, man. That's why you won this. That's girl talk. That's loser talk. LeBron media talk. That's what that is. That's excuses. Because we can put LeBron in Chuck Taylor's in the 60s. Let's see how he's going to do. Let's put Michael Jordan and Chuck Taylor's in the 60s. See how he's going to do. And I could say something about the dudes in the 60s. Well, let me put them in the 90s and see this. But we don't. Life never stays the same. Either it evolves or sometimes devolves, gets better or it gets worse. But you're still in different times. You can't compare that. That's what they had in their time. And they played against the guys in their time. And whoever was great in that time, that's what they did. So let me get Bill Russell out of the 60s. Let me get Wilt Chamberlain out of the 60s. Hell, give me as the best. Give me Kareem out of the 70s. Give me Michael Jordan out of the 90s. Give me Bird and give me Magic out of the 80s. I know I can't have all of them in my top five. I'm just saying. Dudes who sat in there and fought, didn't team hop, didn't blame, didn't want to play with the competition, wanted to beat the competition. So let's look at this. So we're not talking about as far as plumbers or international plumbers, slow, unathletic white guys like the LeBron James guys like to say. We're talking about Tony Parker, who is an international player that dominated LeBron James. Imagine a role player. A role player. So you guys know, oh man, there ain't no role players. If you ain't the star, the superstar, you're a role player to the superstar. Pippen was a role player to Michael Jordan. It's just levels of it. So Tony Parker won that finals MVP, averaged more points than LeBron James, who is the superstar of his team. And if you took a look, what do you see? You see that my man is over there to the far right. Who is that? That's Robert Horry. No, he ain't no plumber or no international plumber or nothing like that, or unathletic. That's the guys that LeBron media and LeBron fans talk about, right? Ain't that the same guy? You guys said, you said that Jordan fans are using championships. Well, Horry's got 7. Does he? Interesting. And who did he get his 7th and final ring on before he retired? LeBron James. Oh, boy, I know what they're going to say now. What they say? Hey, man, that man didn't even play me. He played like 2 minutes. Oh, so it's okay for you to say he's got 7 rings against Jordan, playing 2 minutes, being a role player, and being at the bottom of the damn bench just about all of his career. I ain't going to say all of it. But as soon as we use it on LeBron James, we got to discard it, right? I just saying he didn't win 1 ring on Michael Jordan, let alone his 7th. He won a ring on LeBron James in his 7th. That's crazy. So, uh, so LeBron, he just can't get a break, can he? This guy just can't get a break. His fame, story, career, that's made up by the media. It's made up. Everything from 2012 is made up. And everything from 2012, before 2012, is covered up. And everything that happened after 2012, either it's made up or they cover it up, right? So I just found this fascinating too. On this image, good old JJ Barrera shut down LeBron to 8 points in a game. To me, another international plumber. And Jason Terry helped shut this guy down. As this international plumber, Dirk, non-athletic plumber, won Finals MVP and won a championship on LeBron James. So look, guys, LeBron has had a problem in his entire career. Not only with unathletic white guys, not only with unathletic plumbers, or should we say, not only white unathletic and international plumbers, but also too with the international community, right? The international basketball players have rolled this dude all of his career, starting when he came into the NBA in 2004 or 2003. We could say 2004 in those Olympics, but it just kept going on. FIBA's, Olympics, championship games, or should we say finals, dunk contest. It just goes on and on. What it shows you is, and it's really a reflection, right? We have taken, with a guy like LeBron James, athleticism over fundamentals in skills, right? In this new era of basketball. We said, who cares about fundamentals and sharpening your skills to be great? Let's take athleticism, right? And they batted on that, right? When LeBron was coming up out of high school, he was the biggest talent, the biggest talk, the biggest hype of all time. Based on what? Who did he play in high school? Some kids trying out for the team? Because we told you before, in the NBA, you're playing the best of best of college players in the NBA. In college, you're playing the best of high school players. In high school, you're playing the best of who? You're playing the best of guys who tried out. So this guy is doing dunks and layups on Sports Center. We're all the way until, where was it? In 2002. This guy should be showing us that he's killing it from three to mid-range and stuff like that on ESPN. We never seen none of that stuff. We seen him dunking on unathletic Catholic school kids, right? And this is how the NBA continued for a minute, right? We said, who cares about fundamentals and sharpening our basketball skills? We only care about athleticism. Well, the rest of the world said, we don't care about that. We're probably not as athletic as United States born players, but our fundamentals will be sharp as a razor blade, because guess what? We got to play each other and have fundamental skills, and our skills be sharp as a razor blade. That's how you get better. We talked about that in the other video, right? The dream team didn't need international plumbers to make them better. They didn't need that competition. They were top of the line. These guys were competing against each other in the NBA to be the best. They weren't building super teams and saying, oh, I want to play with you. They weren't like, oh, man, just go ahead for this bucket. You look better, so you can get a bigger endorsement or you can get a bigger contract. No. These guys was always competing. I want to be better than Will. I want to be better than Moses. I want to be better than Larry. I want to be better than Worthy. That's what these guys said. In order to do it, they had to go out there and compete. They didn't want to lose. You think Michael Jordan in 1990, when he lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, he said, "I'm Michael Jordan, man. I got millions." This man was crying. This man was crying. Not because he melted down. It's because he wants to win. He's out there to compete. These guys, I'm trying to tell you, man, they would be blowing Serbia out. They would be blowing South Sudan out. These guys, with their fundamentals and their athleticism, was second to none. You're competing with guys on the college level, the high school level. Back then, to go to the next level, it was no joke. I've seen it with my own eyes. Even in middle school, high school, college, these guys, you got guys now that never made the NBA back then, when I was growing up in the 90s, that will be stars in this NBA. Because you have to do less in this NBA, in this era, in the LeBron era. And that all started when they took out defense in 2005, when they found out that their king was going to keep missing the playoffs. So they had to take out defense at that time. So you guys tell me what you think, man. Yeah. If I had a choice between one or the other, athleticism or a guy who was fundamentally sound with good skills, I'm taking the guy with fundamentally sound skills over the athletic guy.